Video games are a remarkable way to both tell and experience stories.
They invite you to enter worlds of action, fantasy, terror.
Ciao ragazzi.
Not just a member of the
Buonasera a
audience,
tutti,
but an active
siamo di nuovo qua.
participant.
They are stories that are shaped not only by the visions of their creators,
but by the choices you make as they unfold.
They are changed by you.
Just as you are changed by them.
This year, for the first time, Tribeca has selected 8 games.
We hope they offer you
Un secondino che mettiamo a posto delle cose e iniziamo a essere presenti.
That games have to offer the world.
And why they belong at the forefront of our conversations about storytelling.
Both now and in the future.
We can't wait for you to play them.
Diamo subito l'audio.
Horror stories are often about the single
iniziamo
deepest
con una
fears
bella
and
faccia.
anxieties made real
Ciao,
in the
Guglielmo.
form of ghosts, ghouls, and demons. But in the survival horror game Signalis, the true horror lies not in the shambling monsters you find lurking in a subterranean bunker or an alien planet, but in what lies beyond the limits of human comprehension. Revelations so dreadfully that can shatter the mind. This is the cosmic horror of Signalis.
Bene, bene.
Ok, la live va bene.
Buona ragazzi, bentornati. Ci siamo lasciati pochissimo fa e iniziamo anche con questa nuova live.
Esatto. Tanto salutiamo Guglielmone.
È andato un bellissimo input.
Però
Posso dire che sembra molto carina questa
io ho la
cosa.
pelle d'oca.
Mi è salita l'ansia, cioè vuol
Sì,
dire che è meraviglioso.
Tantissimo. Ciao Pagonello. Pago, l'audio si sente bene?
Noi stiamo rodando per dopo.
Per ora direi di sì, perfetto.
Non si sa, è appena iniziato.
Ha parlato Guglielmone nazionale,
Sì,
del Toro.
Del Toro, e adesso lo stanno presentando. È molto ansiolitico, ma sembra molto molto carino. Esatto.
Ah, Signalis, ok. Tanta roba.
Sì?
Kena Bridge of Spirits is a rich, compelling tale of fantasy and adventure with themes of trauma and loss of forgiveness. And yes, it's full of fast-paced action and breathless battles with supernatural foes, but the first thing that hits you when you see it is the beauty of a debut game from a small but passionate team at Ember Labs, and how the stunning animation of its lush, magical world pulls you into a journey of a spirit guide trying to save a village haunted by restless souls. But why not let you see it for yourself? Here's our next official selection, Kena Bridge of Spirits.
Oh,
Eccolo.
cavolo, sì.
Ground yourself.
Feel the energy of the mountain. Draw on its power.
Ma penso che su questo titolo ci puntiamo tutti quanti.
Io ho visto qualche retroscena per quanto riguarda la creazione dei modelli, gli shader, cioè stiamo vedendo veramente il futuro, secondo me, di un indie che non è un indie alla fine.
Film and animation. We got our start doing visual effects for films.
Questi indie doppia A, che è molto bella come definizione, indie doppia
And from there we grew into doing a lot of animated work for commercials.
Che bello.
In between commercial projects, we would always siphon off some time to learn new things and be a little creative. And over time, we decided that wow, we have a real passion for games, and we wanted to throw our hat into the ring with our first project, Cana.
Something tells me you did not come to our village looking for forest creatures.
Guarda, ci sono io.
Ci sono anch'io.
Passage to the sacred mountain shrine.
We've been playing games our whole lives together as brothers.
Io mi auguro solo che abbia un gameplay.
Adventure games are sort of what we play.
Eccolo qua.
together.
Sì,
Enjoy.
sì.
Yeah.
Oh sì. Se c'è l'arco già è una cosa positiva.
Vabbè, per forza è il
The
fulcro.
rot being a kind of a force of nature that was maybe working against you. It was kind of the enemy initially, and then kind of had the thought to flip it, where
Wow.
the rot become your companions.
Questo però non si può considerare indice.
No, indie non è sinonimo di cose fatte male.
No,
anzi.
no, anzi non è quello che intendo, ma io intendo proprio il livello di qualità che stiamo guardando adesso.
And that's when we kind of like found that we had something kind of unique. Opened up a lot of cool mechanics.
Io non so se si può parlare di un indie doppia A, tripla A, cioè i canoni in questo senso non li conosco nel dettaglio. Però caspita.
With film you can just put the camera where you want it. You can
Artisticamente è
tell
qualcosa di fantastico,
what they're
sì.
seeing, when they're seeing it, how they're seeing it.
Ma si vede che sanno fare il loro comunque.
So, communicating
Ma poi
ideas or themes to the player is a lot
butta
more
proprio in quel mondo fantasy, la foresta, gli animaletti carini, i nemici con gli occhi rossi, cioè è tutto così bello.
Ma è pieno, guarda che bello che è.
Infatti poi anche l'environment, cioè è pieno di cose.
communication to the player, especially when it's trying to do it through gameplay and not just
Questo su PS5 sarà una gioia.
One of Tara's memories.
E poi è esclusiva? Non lo so, non mi ricordo almeno.
We love creating immersive experiences and we
Anche
try to
me.
really think about atmosphere.
E secondo me è una buona
tone,
cosa
when we're
perché
in
Ori
game development
a me
side.
è piaciuto comunque come titolo.
Le tue volpine.
Storytelling and atmosphere is a big part of our traditional medium in terms of film.
Credo esca anche su PC più avanti. Ah, ok.
Just having the world be something that you want to sit down and explore and be a part of was a goal of ours from the beginning.
Oh sì, il platform.
Having a nice team of really great animators who have worked together, I think was paramount in terms of pulling off some of the storytelling we wanted to do with the game.
Io lo voglio, carinissimo.
Sono io appena sveglio.
We're actually making like a 45-minute animated movie inside of a game.
Hi.
We're really proud of the team. A lot of them come from the visual effects and animation background and kind of like converted their skill sets from the film and animation background into developers on the game side.
Guardiamo un po' le cose cupe e oscure. È un K.
Guarda che bello, è un K, effettivamente ha la
Alla
rientranza
testa.
in testa
Sì,
per
sì, sì.
l'acqua.
During the process of making the game, we also were introduced to a musical group called Sudamani. And we actually, Jason and myself went over to Bali to do recording for the soundtrack. One of the things that's grown out of that relationship is Dewa is the composer, but
His daughter, Ayu, is actually the voice of Kana.
My name's Kana. What are you two doing out here?
She's never done any voice acting, but she fit right in.
It's okay. You have to go now.
You know, we wanted to make a game that would just excite us if we saw it. You know, something that we would see the trailer. Oh yeah, that game looks awesome.
Yeah.
So as difficult as
Ma io mi sarei
been,
aspettato una
it's
qualità
also
simile
very
comunque,
rewarding
ma
because
proprio a livello anche
something that we
artistico, cioè
very proud of.
non è pacchiano, non è il pacchiano dell'indie che cade nei cliché.
Ma guarda che su questo titolo ci sono stati... Cioè c'è stato molto movimento proprio perché si sapeva che era di una qualità bella alta.
Cioè, guarda lì. È passato dal platform al live così da un momento all'altro, no, cioè. Questo Day One assolutamente nel sentimento family arriva. PS5, PS4,
Epic Game.
Southern Gothic is a uniquely American storytelling tradition.
Sam.
Magical realism with
Con
dark tales
un'inquadratura
portrayed in
tutta
American South.
particolare.
Ma lui è sempre particolare.
Adds a dash of sci-fi to the Southern Gothic stew, weaving cyborgs and artificial intelligence into pixelated Louisiana landscapes, where the sun sets heavy and orange over the swamps, and oil refineries.
Tra l'altro lui come
blaze
Kojima
like
non
torches in the
invecchia
night.
proprio.
It is a place where people,
Migliora.
memories, and secrets
O migliora col
have been
tempo, sì.
lost and
Come un buon vino.
Dig them up if you dare in the haunting and extraordinary adventure that is Norco.
Interessante.
Pixel art.
Vedo che quest'anno ci stanno puntando tanto,
Ma poi non è la pixel art quella scontata, è proprio quella fatta a criterio. Un sacco di lavori molto ispirati.
Geography of Robots is a handful of devs, artists, and musicians making output that is largely centered around the American South and the psychogeography of the American South.
Me le aspetto le riprese della pioggia comunque. Era un motivo.
Our first release is a game called Norco, which is about my hometown of Norco, Louisiana. A small, very industrialized town about 25 miles upriver from New Orleans.
Perché non mi fa pensare male, non lo so.
There's so many intersecting pieces of infrastructure. So many stories embedded in the landscape. I've been fascinated with that region since I was a kid. I wanted to synthesize all of those research interests into something, and Norco is that culmination of effort.
Ma cos'è, un punto e clicca?
Però a me piace molto l'ispirazione che c'è stata dietro.
It draws from both
Dai, un punto e
reality
clicca,
and
che
certain
bello.
sci-fi tropes.
Beh.
To explore little air pockets of the surreal within the reality of the game.
The primary benefit that we have working in this sort of adventure game point-and-click genre is that we've got just decades and decades of iteration to build on within this genre, going back to the old Lucas games, you know, Monkey Island and such.
Sì, arriva proprio da quel mondo lì.
For our story? What are the necessary mechanics to tell the story of Norco?
Senti la musica.
I was interrogating a lot of events and experiences from the past. I was playing a lot of 2D pixel art games at the time. lot of traumatic events had occurred both in my personal life and the life of the region that I was exploring, and I thought there was a kind of hauntological element.
Quando mettono i filmati poi in
pixel art
pixel
to
art
tell
è
those
sempre
stories.
stranissimo.
Non era da tanto che non vedevo un titolo così.
È un insieme di Undertale, Ozu ed un'avventura punta e clic, sì esatto, ma è bellissimo. Molto ansiolitico, ansiogeno.
Lo vedo più appunto come ha detto lui, più una denuncia di tutto quello che ha visto comunque.
Molto crudo, può dire crudo.
Big and small studios have really been pushing like what it means for player agency to take a front seat in a semi-linear narrative.
It has been an interesting journey, pushing the boundaries of the
Ciao
medium
Diago,
and
benvenuto.
kind of forcing it into this more
Grazie per
complex,
essere
uncomfortable
passato
future.
a salutarci e farci compagnia alla Sentimentals Family, ormai meme ricorrente. Molto interessante questo Norco comunque.
In the handmade adventure game Harold Halibut, a spaceship full of people fleeing the Cold War crash
E ti sei
lands
perso,
in
ti
an
sei
alien
perso
ocean,
una
where the sunken
feature
ship becomes a
su
city
Pina
that's forever stuck in the 1970s.
del Toro
When I
che
say
ha
handmade
praticamente
adventure game, I mean that in a
introdotto
very physical,
questo
tangible way.
gioco
Every set, every character,
bellissimo,
every flowboard,
ansiolitico,
every coffee cup has been meticulously
Signalis.
crafted from wood,
Sì, Signalis
clay,
era
cloth,
sempre
and
Esatto.
in pixel art.
È una sottospecie di pixel art, però è molto particolare, sì.
Esatto, e poi
Harold
questo che è il terzo. E siamo passati al quarto.
Come dicevo prima, Diago, ci sono questi titoli molto ispirati comunque. Ed è strano parlare di indie comunque con questa qualità.
Hi, we are Slow Brothers, a tiny interdisciplinary game studio based in Cologne, Germany.
Harold! Stop daydreaming! And don't forget to fix the light after cleaning up the paint.
È mai una
Sometimes
gioia,
I do wonder
poveretto.
what life would have been like on Earth.
It's been about 10 years since we started game development. Some of us have a film background, and
Voglio anch'io il
at that
tavolo con le
time we were
ruote.
kind of frustrated about the big budgets needed to produce a feature-length film, the dependencies to producers.
Si basa sui modelli usati
being
per la
also
stop motion.
game
Sì,
lovers.
infatti
We
è
thought that making
è
a game instead
spaziale.
of a film to tell a story
Cioè, un
might
gioco in
be
stop
the
motion?
more approachable
Wow.
endeavor. We quickly realized that the budgeting thing at least wasn't too different from feature-length films, but we were way too deep into the process already when we realized that.
Credo li abbiano usati per creare i modelli 3D e poi li abbiano animati con la motion capture.
Our goal has always
Vediamo.
been to create a accurate recreation of
Io apprezzo
stop motion
tantissimo
film, to
queste
create a
cose.
cinematic feel, and our initial approach was quite a lot of experimentation
semplice,
involved until we found
No,
our
assolutamente.
process that we use now, which is 3D scanning everything by using photogrammetry.
Ah,
to
ecco, vedi.
create 3D models of
Li
the
hanno
characters that we
praticamente
then
creati
animate
e scannerizzati.
using
Sì,
motion
sì,
capturing.
sì. E ho utilizzato la motion capture, sì.
Which gave us this fluidity and also all the options that we have in
Tra l'altro
modern
ormai
3D
fare
games
motion
to
capture
write
con
the scenes in a cinematic
poco
way,
budget
use
lo
camera
puoi fare
movement.
tranquillamente.
So it's
Puoi
even
farlo,
a
ma
little
non
bit
è
different
facile
than,
creare dei bei
traditional
modelli.
No,
stop
cioè,
motion
qua si vede
animation,
proprio
and
la,
we really liked
la
this
creatività,
mix of
l'artisticità
digital world and
comunque.
analog world.
Comunque fatto a mano,
Io per quello che ho fatto quel discorso appunto all'apertura con la prima live che abbiamo fatto con Paolino, è il fatto che secondo me è in questo genere, è negli indie che si ritrova ancora quella voglia di far vedere i propri prodotti, la propria creazione, le proprie idee anche artistiche.
Cioè guarda lì, non ha scaricato una texture o comprato una texture o creato digitalmente una texture, ha fatto proprio il pavimento con i sassolini, cioè è fantastico.
Parts and that level of detail coming together as like a greater thing, we just like put a lot of effort into giving the individual characters.
Cioè se anni fa mi avessero chiesto cosa vorresti fare da grande e fossi stato in grado di fare queste cose, avrei detto questo.
For like a rich experience.
Now, if you're quite ready.
Sure. Ready for what?
Pensa a Barton con questa tecnologia anni fa. Beh, lui ovviamente ha dato il via. Sì, però dico, prova a darla a Barton una tecnologia del genere. Certo che adesso ormai. C'è da dire che con i costi che ha una AA ogni giorno non puoi permetterti di sperimentare con tutti i soldi in ballo e dischi grosso se flop. Già, AAA sono da un lato una cosa bellissima, dall'altro è un rischio enorme. Però se con questi indie doppia riescono a sperimentare, tanto meglio. Assolutamente.
But it took the hearts and minds of many more to make the dream a reality. That dream began at the height of the Cold War, when the world was on the very brink of annihilation. He conceived of an ark-like spacefaring ship. After 200 years, we finally arrived at our destination, only to find that the promising, watery planet contained no habitable landmass and dense toxic gases in the atmosphere.
The Cold War seemed like a good starting point for the backstory of our game, and it enabled us to have this kind of weird mix of being stuck in the 70s on one hand and not living through the things we all know in our present, but also thinking into the future, the 200 years after that, and creating this kind of alternative timeline where things evolved in a different way.
It's just that the professor and I need some sea rocks, filter rocks from older times that have come from the filters, and I feel like you might have one?
Okay, look and listen here, Longy Long Pants. I shut the store for a reason, you know?
While we have this overarching storyline in our game with multiple story arcs, Herald is only one part of this bigger story, and we always kind of focus on Harold's personal interactions, relationships and friendships of Harold.
Harold! Good timing. You can explain things to the Major, can't you?
Harold, come here and explain things.
So, Harry, how's life been treating you?
Keeping fishy.
What?
Keeping busy.
Okay.
Harold.
Is everything okay?
And therefore really concentrated on providing a lot of depth in those characters for players to explore.
Harold, won't you stay? The jog team won't be the same without you.
Yeah, venga, Harold. You can't leave now, I just got here. Jog team,
C'è sempre qualcuno con questa voce.
Go jog team.
Come on, Harold. Keep up.
Deep breaths, Harold. You're doing great.
Guys, have you got any tips?
Just keep on moving, Harold. You never know when you'll have to slow down. So keep going while you can.
Guarda, è proprio buffo quando si...
Ma poi mi piace il viso, cioè...
Per fortuna, grazie a publisher come Devolver e Good Shepherd, alcuni piccoli studi hanno accesso a risorse costose quali motion capture e doppiaggio, riuscendo a raggiungere il mercato esatto. D'accordo su questo.
On your journey to the horizon,
Ma
you will
infatti fanno un
traverse a world
bellissimo
of
lavoro
beauty
secondo
and
me, perché
mystery,
danno proprio la
full of
possibilità
spectacular ruins, both
dei bei
ancient and
titoli di
futuristic.
venire fuori e poter
This
emergere,
is the
comunque
joy of
raggiungere le
exploration.
persone.
Anche
The
perché
thrill of
prima creare un
discovery.
videogioco era
You listen to the
inaccessibile.
stories of the people and places you encounter.
Sì, ma
Have
tuttora,
the chance to learn what you came
cioè
here to
magari nel tuo
understand.
piccolo riesci
This
anche a
is
crearlo, però poi chi lo spinge? Se non hai nessuno, come fai?
È arrivato Sable. Se non sbaglio, è Sable questo.
Comunque quello là
È un capolavoro. Dolcissimo. Anche questo è molto interessante.
Shedworks is us. I'm Greg, this is Daniel, and we started out in my parents' shed.
Sable is the main character. She's a young girl who's leaving her home for the first time.
The gliding is what Sable embarks on as the story starts.
Sable,
And
sì.
it's something that everybody who comes of age in the world of Sable does. It's how you find out what you want to become in life. Leaving your home behind and experiencing the world, meeting people, trying
Bella la
things,
felpa.
helping folks in need, and ultimately deciding what do I want to devote my life to.
So much of the people here, the communities here, are defined by their vocation. You know, the desert that they live in is
Molto bello il
inhospitable,
design
and so
anche
they
delle
kind of had to come
maschere
together
comunque.
and had to form groups around resources. And so Sable kind of goes from place to place, meeting different societies and cultures, built around completely different experiences of the same
È
environment.
interessante la scelta degli shader comunque, parlando un po' di tecnicismi. Sostanzialmente è tutto così flat.
It means that she has to be a sponge, right? She's trying to figure out her place in the world, what she wants to do for the
Occhio
rest
che
of her days. And I think that's what
parlare
makes
con
the story so
troppi
fun.
inglesi
Però è,
richiami in
cioè, no,
campo,
ma è flat, punto, è piatto, però dire piatto
That
suona
not only
male.
shape her gliding, but shape her.
Anche la stamina. Ma poi qua si parla più che altro di shader.
My dad and Daniel's dad went to
Comunque.
architecture school together. You know, our lives are kind of crossed.
Credo abbiano usato per lo più semplici texture. Sì, sì, sì. Sono tinte unite.
By the time we were at sort of university age, that was when indie games had really kind of taken off.
No, ma stavo controllando perché infatti il nome di lei non è che mi suonasse proprio nuovo.
Di Kim. Cosa ha fatto?
I studied architecture.
Ok.
Daniel studied comparative literature.
Ah, la ragazza ne
Neither
sa.
of us had
Ottimo.
any experience making games before we started making
Anche solo con il Valhalla.
We kind of went to the pub one time.
Magari gli shader le hanno usate per gli
had a
elementi
chat
con una
about how
fisica.
Because we had none of these industry direct connections to skills or experience, we thought we'd start our own internship, do our own internship in the.
Oddio, sì. Lo si può notare più che altro con la luce. Tipo il fuoco che dava appunto lo shader più rosso.
Also later, we're here now, still going. Yeah.
È particolare, cioè mi piace, ma ti devi abituare però.
Sì, penso che di primo così, appena lo vedi dici, cos'è? No. Poi ci un attimino, esatto, entri in modalità
Entri nel... si può dire mood.
No.
Relaxing in a way, but that doesn't make it less.
Bentornato Diago. Switchato con il PC, ottimo. Voi ragazzi cosa ne dite? Cioè vi piace? Io lo giocherei. So che all'inizio farei un po' fatica per entrare appunto nell'ambiente, però vedo che è molto curato.
It was the first game
Le animazioni
that
sembrano
was really
fatte tipo
geared
passo
around our
1,
skills
però
as well, our backgrounds. We wanted to do something narrative focused, we had a background in comparative literature, we wanted something architecturally focused, and my background in architecture helped with that. So I think that it's come from us in that way makes it quite unique. We draw from a number of references and influences, I suppose. I guess
Banhammer.
some of the most obvious ones are the visual ones, right? Stuff like Mobius or Tintin or Studio Ghibli, and those kind of
artisticamente lo trovo valido, anche se il disegno non è proprio nelle mie corde. Sì, infatti.
Yeah, it does have that mix.
Bisogna farci il callo, secondo me, all'inizio. Che è molto particolare.
Right, who live here, but to the eyes of Sable and to everyone in that world, that is all that they know.
Comunque c'è sempre un gatto nelle inquadrature, se ci fai caso.
Ci sarà un perché.
Qua no, però se lo cerchi per me viene fuori, per me è di là.
The music itself has been a really big part of shaping the direction of the game.
No, ok ragazzi, io penso che lo giocherei. Ma il gatto è veramente dietro a tutto? Secondo me sì,
Infatti tutti hanno un gatto. In questo ambiente quasi tutti almeno hanno un gatto.
Le musiche comunque sono molto belle. Ieri sera al Summer Game Fest hanno fatto live, penso, la soundtrack.
Sì.
Molto bella. I gatti sono i signori dell'universo.
In
Lasciamoglielo
the Gothic fairy
credere.
tale Lost in Random, the world is divided into 6 shadowy realms, where every
tu che sei
citizen's fate is
ospitato da
determined by
loro.
the role
Sì,
of a
sì,
cursed
sì,
die.
loro mi comandano.
You play as Even, a young girl who's set out on a quest to save her beloved sister, Odd. And with the help of your companion, a magical living die named Dicey, you'll find yourself battling your way through a dark wonderland, and if you want to win the game, you'll have to embrace the chaos and find a way to tip the odds in your favor. From the Odd and Even minds of Zoink Games, here is Lost in Random.
Oh, quest'anno mi stanno dando un sacco di soddisfazioni,
Oh santo cielo, che bello! Coraline, basta, via, Veronica è persa.
So Lost in Random is being developed here at Zoink Games in Gothenburg, Sweden. We're about 80 developers with a few different projects.
Fangirlando in una maniera
Lost in Random is definitely
incredibile.
our biggest and most ambitious project ever.
Baffi interessanti quelli del team.
We're known for doing quite narrative-driven games. We really want to make games that speak to people and touch people and make people think.
No,
Madonna,
cioè,
sì. Basta ragazzi, io vado, la chiudo qua, sono felice.
Lost in Random is a 3D action-adventure game set in the gorgeous
abbiamo
Gothic fairy tale
trovato
world
la
of
chicca
Random.
per Veronica.
And it tells the tale of Even, a young girl who befriends
Vediamo
Dicey,
se va
a
tanto.
living dice
Sei la
with
cocca
incredible
della redazione, quindi ti arriverà
Even goes on this
subito.
journey
Non
to
ti devi
rescue her
conquistare
sister
le
from the clutches
cose.
of the Mad Queen, who's obsessed with board games.
No, ma al di là di tutto questo
So
lo
the
compro.
Queen decreed that any child who had turned the age of 12 would be given the grand honor of rolling her one true dice to show them
comprerei
their place
anch'io.
in the world of random. For random is fair, random prevails, and random rules.
Random rules.
Even, she's this naive young kid who's just, for the first time, going out into the world to find out who she is.
It's really a story about the randomness of life and conquering.
Tantissimo,
Oh,
fear.
tanto
tantissimo
cielo,
Tim Burton,
gameplay.
infatti. Cioè, io non posso davvero chiudere, andare
Even and
via
Dicey
e sono
are
felice.
A really fun duo. Even is this quick to
Assomiglia anche
anger,
un po',
but she's
secondo
not
me,
one
la
to hold
bambina.
grudges, but she can easily get into a fight.
Hai la
Dicey
stessa
can hold
verve.
back.
Sì.
Così.
Cioè, ha un dado come companion.
Dicey, who is this
cute puppy kind of character. His moment to shine is when you're in combat. When he even rolls dicey, he becomes this kind of Swiss army knife of magical power.
Ah, lo usi proprio come arma.
They should be scared of us, right?
Oh sì!
We're really in love with this project.
Ma siamo io e
It's a great
te!
story,
Faccio io il
great
dado!
actors, it's innovative gameplay, and it just feels like everything is just so perfectly packaged together around the dice.
Hanno trovato il modo
and
di
this universe.
rappresentarci in un videogioco.
And the style of the game is kind of like something out of a Laika or Tim Burton movie. It's really everything we've dreamt of doing all these years. It's really great and we can't wait for everybody to
Ma
play
va
it.
bene, ma lasciatevi ispirare da lui che è perfetto
Guarda
così.
guarda il lupo,
Sì.
fantastico.
In the interactive thriller 12 Minutes, you play as a
Hey.
man who becomes trapped in a time loop.
Ci
You
sono
play the
visto.
same 12
Sì.
minutes of one
O
fateful
professor,
evening
come si
in his
diceva una
apartment
volta.
over and over.
Esatto.
Each time you're going to have the
Stavi
chance to
dicendo?
make new choices, learn what led up to those terrible events, and perhaps even escape them. It's a story that's not just about how choices matter, but about how some stories can only truly be told when they can change, even just a little bit, every single time you retell.
Sono contento di
It was
averla
a joy
fatta
to
Tribeca.
participate in this project and lend my voice to the main character, and I hope you have as
Questo
much
dovrebbe
fun
essere
playing
12
it as I
minutes,
did
se non
making it.
sbaglio.
I am very proud to introduce a game where the end is only the beginning. 12 minutes.
Esatto. Molto interessante anche questo.
I have a surprise for you.
Eh sì, era sparito un po' dai radar.
Dall'anno scorso.
You want to guess what it
No?
is?
Infatti si vede che per me l'hanno messo a
This
posto.
is an outfit for a newborn. You bought it this morning. You wanted to surprise me.
I'm sorry.
You're pregnant.
You know?
I know because you already gave it to me. This has happened before.
What are you talking about? What's going on?
Someone is coming. He's going to hurt us. He says you killed your father. I need to know what happened.
Why are you doing this? My father
Died of a heart attack?
No, I didn't have anything to do with.
Any second now, he's gonna knock on that door. Help me.
This isn't happening. This can't be happening.
Police, open up.
My name
Religioso
is Luis.
silenzio.
I'm the creator of 12 Minutes. I grew up watching a lot of film. They always captivated me, and I tried to understand what were they doing, the pacing, the colors, the lighting, the composition, in order to create these emotions in me. What are the tools we have as game designers that allow us to do similar things? I think the biggest challenge is that usually when we think about narrative, we think about a linear progression. And in an interactive game, at least in 12 minutes, that information can come at any moment depending on what you've done.
What's the occasion?
I'll tell you over dessert.
All right, I'm ready to get wowed by this dessert.
Just give me 1 second.
You know, I'm fascinated by the idea of if you knew what's going to happen, what would you do differently? 12 Minutes is an interactive thriller about a man trapped in a time loop. You come home from work, you're having an evening with your wife, then this cop shows up, he accuses your wife of murder.
Hands behind your back, let's go.
You try to stop him, you get beat up,
Somebody help!
only to wake up back to the start of the evening. And then you have to use the knowledge of what you know it's going to happen to try to change the outcome and break the loop.
Look, I know this sounds weird, but the day's repeating itself.
What do you mean, repeating itself?
I'm living the same chunk of time over and over again.
Uh-huh.
È andato avanti bene.
The reason the game sticks to a bird's eye view is because it allows you to very easily interact with the environment. Most video games, you have a third-person camera or a first-person camera, and I wanted to create something that is very accessible. So by doing a bird's eye view, you have like a floor plan of the apartment that you just click where to move. There was also the challenge of having the voices convey the emotions without seeing the faces. If someone is really stressed out, you won't have any facial expression, so you have to feel the stress in the throat.
particularly because you don't see our faces in it. You really are projecting whatever you're feeling onto the character. There's no facial expressions that are instructing you. Where you go in the game will, I think, depend on you as an individual.
I just need some time to myself. Come on, babe, please, stop it.
And if there's enough subtlety in the voice acting, in the movement, your brain will fill the rest. Because
Stiamo
actors
parlando di un
think in
indie che
terms
ha
of motivation.
un
So
voice
what's my
acting,
motivation for this scene? And
cioè,
workshopping with
William
them, figuring
Dafoe,
those things out allows the
Daisy.
characters to become alive and
Cioè,
become meaningful.
non sono i primi che passano.
Ah, non di sicuro.
James.
No, come on. I warned you. Look, you can't do this. It will be different things for different people. There are so many versions of the story that will either
Le cose che piacciono a Paolino, eccole qua.
And you as the player are revealing how you deal with truth, how you deal with other people's truth.
Working in interactive medium, you can make a story that becomes very personal to you, right? You're not passively looking at what's happening and processing. You're actually deciding. By allowing you to participate, to change it, and to mold the way it's built, in a way it becomes part of you. It's like you're part of the creative process that is happening. And because the game doesn't really give you a direction, the decisions you make are based on who you are.
I'll prove it.
Yeah, great, let's see it. Wow me.
No, me lo
That
ricordo.
allows you to explore a side of yourself that maybe
Non?
you
Il
wouldn't
nome non me lo
otherwise.
ricordavo.
Io sì.
Ma tipo al primo secondo me è venuto in mente la presentazione dell'anno scorso perché mi aveva preso un sacco.
May you be freed from fear.
E adesso mi ha preso ancora di più.
Da provare. Anche per me che non è proprio il mio genere, gli do una possibilità. Cioè, poi vabbè, time loop io. Esclusiva Xbox?
Steam.
If you're not familiar with The Big Con,
Steam,
a coming-of-age
Xbox.
comedy adventure about a teen in the 1990s, well, let me explain. You play as Allie, a high school junior who learns that her mom is about to lose her video rental store to loan sharks unless they come up with over $90,000 ASAP. Well, there's clearly only one thing you can do. Run away from band camp, head to the mall, and become a
Che
con
attoroni,
artist.
sì, sì.
That's just common sense. From the decade that gave us the World Wide Web and so much plaid, I give you The Big Con.
Oh sì. Questo è un altro Veronica Plus.
Sì, vabbè, sostanzialmente è tutto Veronica Plus quando è così.
No, questo è Pro 2000 proprio. E ricordo sempre che non è solo una fase.
Hey, I'm Dave Proctor from Mighty L Studios,
Non è
and
mai
I am the
stata
game
una
director
fase.
and writer on The Big Con. Mighty L is a company from Toronto. We're made up of some really awesome devs from this city. George Degenkamp, Saffron Aurora, Tabby Rose, Sakrina Diaz, and Yash Kulkarni is our core team. The Big Con is a adventure game where you hustle your way across 90s America as a teenage con artist. But it's all for a good cause. You are trying to save your mom's video store. So you learn to pickpocket, wear disguises, talk your way into and out of trouble. All for that good, not so good cause of making sure your family business stays afloat.
Il family business.
Yeah, one of the toughest things about
Pater.
making this game was selling people on the non-violent crime aspect of it. Games with guns don't bat an eye, but you know, the moment you have to steal an old lady's wallet, people start to think maybe there's something wrong with you, which is fine. That's part of the fun of making this. It really helps us make something that, you know, challenges people and challenges ourselves, and hopefully helps us find a little bit of in between in a story like this.
Ragazzi, questo per voi è Day One, come per noi.
You know, writing a funny and heartfelt story kind of helps justify
Spenderemo un sacco in indie quest'anno.
you know, on
Io
one
sono
hand, we get to
sempre
make a game that
contenta.
we've never seen before, which is a con artist video game. And on the other hand, we get to kind of couch that in a conversation about small
Però io
businesses
dico solo una
surviving
cosa,
and a
giocarli
story about a mother and a daughter. And
su console ci sta, ma giocarli in mobilità,
relationship, like who is
comodi.
Linda, Allie's mom, who raised her as a single mom
Per
and
me
kept a business
questi sono
together
titoli da
and is
PC,
tough
a
as hell.
dirti la
What is that
verità.
person
No,
like?
non-
What is
non-
her daughter like? How do
non
they
del
play
tutto
off
in
each other?
realtà.
Allie can be, you know, she can be a
C'è
teenager,
questo
she
su
can be
Switch.
rough, she can be sarcastic. this is something that we really wanted to
Se lo
see,
giochi
and I think it brings a lot of truth
Anche però per
to
me
the
il
game.
mood perfetto
Tipo,
è su PC.
nella stanzina buia con lo
No,
schermo in
perché
4
è buia.
terzi. Con le caste dietro lo schermo.
If it makes us laugh, it goes in the game. That was our rule.
La faccia che
We
faccio
really
io
want you to
appena sveglio tutte le
explore and
mattine.
find stuff.
Sono proprio i nostri
Conversations with
tempi.
people that, you know,
comunque.
some people might see, some people might not. It makes us happy knowing that it's in there. And it, I think, really builds on the feeling of like building your own adventure.
Perché sono bei tempi andati.
The 90s are just not, they're not as done in video games, so we wanted to do it. We wanted to get in there. The 90s are a time when you don't have cell phones, you don't have the internet, you don't have the ability to look this stuff up if you need to. And it makes it a little bit more believable that you can be a traveling con artist, which I think is part of the charm. And so, you know, with the 90s means that we also get to do this ripping, colorful palette that Saffron put together.
I watched a lot of cartoons growing up. Hey Arnold, Doug, and The Simpsons. They sort of set the foundation for this cartoon 90s aesthetic. Bright, contrasting
Infatti
colors,
con
exaggerated
l'estetica hanno vinto tutto,
and like
secondo
fun
me.
geometric
E
patterns.
perché gli anni 90
Riley
sono
is a
stati
very
il
does what
peggio e
she
il
wants
meglio
character.
tutto insieme.
Here's her cat
No, il
backwards.
peggio perché
That to me was
Perché si
always
facevano di
the
quegli
signature look
accostamenti,
of the cool
abbinamenti
leader type
che erano
character that you see in a
indecenti.
lot of
tutto
cartoons.
colorato.
You know, she has the ripped jeans, the baggy t-shirt.
Allo stesso
and
tempo
she
erano i
also
migliori.
wears
Dai,
her
mettiti una
plaid
maglia
shirt
gialla, dei
wrapped
pantaloni
around her waist, which
azzurri.
is, you know, a very,
Capito che
I
sono
think,
jeans,
90s
però
style.
dico, i jeans non hanno un colore
The
così
references
acceso.
from Burblos to music or
Questo
grunge
addirittura
or,
verde.
you know, what movies were popular and like it just we don't want to beat you over that.
Perché quelli con i baffi mi ricordano tutti il cantante dei Weezer?
The Big Con is the 90s
Pensavo
crime adventure
Heisenberg.
you've been
No,
looking for.
perché Heisenberg?
What do you think, Rad Ghost?
Winners don't use drugs,
I
oddio.
just want to finish off by saying thank you so much for the opportunity to be a part of this, and to be, you know, in the presence of such incredible games, and
grazie a
really
voi
just
per
incredible
crearli.
international talent.
Sì, non vi
means a lot
preoccupate,
to
adesso prendo i soldi, ve li spiattello
pretty
sullo
soon
schermo.
team from Toronto. So we hope to see you there, and we may try to steal the award anyways.
Bene. Ragazzi, è stata una coccola.
Molto.
No, vado in chiusura e tra poco dobbiamo ripartire.
Sono molto soddisfatta perché anche per quest'anno potrò prendere i miei soldi e sbatterli così e comprare titoli.
Sono stato molto felice di aver visto questo evento comunque live con voi. Molte chicche.
E manca ancora il Wolsom Festival, quindi ciao.
Mi hanno incuriosito tantissimo. Domani con il Wolsom Veronica sarà al 1000%.
Sì, io domani implodo direttamente. Molto carini, ma quello ispirato a Tim Burton è...
Quello penso
Mio.
che lo metto in cima alla
E
lista.
questo.
E questo qua, sì.
Vabbè, china a parte perché quello...
Domanda, le streamate voi o faccio io il premio di coach? Facciamo noi, già che ci siamo.
Sì, tanto oggi abbiamo fatto
Oggi
30.
abbiamo fatto noi e finché la barca va lasciamola andare, insomma.
Esatto, adesso chiudiamo questa e riniziamo con l'altra, così questa poi la possiamo...
Esatto. Allora vi raggiungo su Discord.
Sì?
Ok.
Sì.
Diago, non scappare, rimani con noi. Tempo 2 minuti che chiudiamo e ristartiamo e ci vediamo tra poco.
Anche a tutti gli altri collegati, grazie mille per seguirci. A fra pochissimo.
Ragazzi, prima di chiudere vi ricordo che tribe.games per le news, novità, anteprime, recensioni. Trovate il calendario delle 3 in home page. Ci vediamo tra poco, ragazzi. Ciao!
Ciao!